Have you ever stood in front of a home altar, incense burning in the quiet night, chanting sutras for a deceased loved one and suddenly wondered in your heart, is this really reaching them? Or am I only comforting myself? Have you ever asked yourself in fear, if I do not invite monks, if I do not hold a big ritual in a temple, if I only chant at home with my own imperfect voice and messy mind, will my deceased relatives be left wondering, blaming me for not doing enough? Welcome back to the channel, my friend. Today we are going to gently but deeply open a question that confuses countless people who study the path of the Buddha. Is home chanting enough to help the dead? Or must you rely on expensive rituals and powerful masters? The original article behind this script shared one simple sentence from Master Guangqin, a highly respected monk, that awakened many people from a thick fog of superstition. In this long story minus style video script, we are going to retell and expand the teaching in a way that connects directly with your daily life, your grief, your guilt, your fear of doing too little for those who have died. We will walk through real minus life scenes. A son kneeling in his living room, chanting for his father. A daughter spending all her savings on elaborate ceremonies. A family arguing about what ritual is correct. And an elderly practitioner quietly transferring merit from her simple home recitations. By the end, I hope your heart can breathe more freely. That you will see, the key to helping the deceased is not how grand the ceremony looks, but how real your mind is when you chant. How you live your life after chanting. And whether you truly understand the law of cause and effect instead of just buying spiritual products like they are insurance plans. Let us begin with a scene that might feel almost painfully familiar. Imagine a small apartment on a winter evening. The light in the living room is soft. On a simple shelf, it's a framed photo of an old man, smiling in a way that hurts to look at now. In front of the photo are a cup of tea, a small plate of fruit, and a short stick of incense burning slowly, smoke rising and twisting through the still air. On the floor, a middle-aged man named David kneels on a cushion. He is wearing a sweater that still smells faintly of the smoke from his father's funeral. His knees ache a little. His throat is tight. In front of him, a sutra book lies open. On the cover are words that promise blessings for the dead. He takes a breath and begins to chant. His voice is not very smooth. Sometimes he stumbles over the words. Sometimes his pronunciation is off. He did not grow up reciting these texts. He only started learning them after his father died. As he chants, his mind is anything but calm. He thinks of the hospital corridors, the machines, the last time he saw his father's hand go limp. He thinks of the arguments they had in earlier years, the things he never said, the apologies he never voiced. He also thinks of something else, a relative's comment at the funeral. You really should invite monks to do a full 7-day ceremony. The relative had said, just chanting at home is not enough. Your father might not receive any of the merit. If you are not careful, he might become a hungry ghost and cause trouble for the family. Those words replay in David's head like a poison. Is what I am doing now useless? He wonders, as his voice continues to move through the text. Is my father somewhere cold and lonely, waiting for a proper ritual I cannot afford? He chants faster, as if speed could make up for doubt. When he finishes, he presses his palms together, bows 3 times, and whispers, Dad, if you can hear me, please accept this. Please forgive me for not having money for big ceremonies. I am doing my best. He blows out the incense. The room falls back into ordinary darkness. He goes to bed with a heavy heart, half comforted by the act of chanting, half crushed by the fear that it might not be enough. Now let us travel to another house in another city. Here lives a woman named Lily. Her mother died recently. To cope with her grief and guilt, Lily threw herself into arranging the grandest possible ceremonies. She hired famous ritual masters, bought expensive offerings, and held multiple days of chanting in a temple with many monks. Each time, she watched the elaborate processions, the drums, the gongs, the yellow robes, the tables covered in food and paper offerings, and felt for a moment that she had done her duty. But in the quiet after the ceremonies, when the guests went home and the noise faded, her heart still felt strangely empty. One night, she dreamed of her mother standing at the door, looking thin and disappointed. "You have done many things outside," the dream-minus mother said, "but your heart is still far away from me." Lily woke up trembling. Suddenly, all the money she had spent did not feel like a guarantee anymore. A new question crept in. If my mind is full of resentment and fear, can all those outer rituals really reach my mother's consciousness? Or am I trying to buy peace of mind with money because I am too afraid to look at my own heart? Between David's simple home chanting and Lilith's grand ceremonies, whose efforts helped the deceased more? This is where Master Guangqin's one sentence becomes sharp as a bell in the night. He said something to this effect: "It is not that home chanting cannot help the deceased. What decides the effect is not where you chant, but how you chant and how you live. If the mind is sincere, even one recitation at home can reach them. If the mind is full of greed and show, even a big ceremony in a famous temple may be only noise." Let us unpack this slowly. In the teaching of the Buddha, there is a concept often translated as transferring merit. When you do wholesome actions like chanting, meditating, giving, or helping others, you generate a positive force in your mind-minus stream. That force is called merit. You can educate that merit to others, wishing that its positive energy supports their well-minus being and awakening. But this is not like moving money between bank accounts. You cannot rob yourself of all goodness by giving it away, nor can you force someone to receive what they are not ready to accept. The teaching says, for merit transfer to truly work, 3 conditions are especially important. First, the living person must generate genuine merit through real practice, not just sound imposture. Second, the living person must dedicate that merit honestly and clearly to the deceased. Third, the deceased must have some karmic connection and some openness in their own consciousness to receive that support. Where you chant at home, in a temple, in a field, in a care is far less important than these 3. Imagine you are pouring water into a field. If your bucket is full of clean water, real merit. If you pour it in the right direction, clear dedication. And if there is fertile soil there, the deceased's capacity and connection, then seeds can sprout. If your bucket is empty or full of poison, no real merit. If you pour carelessly while thinking about something else, no sincere dedication. Or if you pour onto a rock, no karmic connection or openness. Then however grand the place looks, not much will grow. Let us return to David. Kneeling in his living room. His chanting is not perfect. His pronunciation is clumsy. He often falls into memories and regret. But what is happening in his heart? He is facing his grief honestly. He is trying to do something for his father with the body and voice he has. He feels gratitude and apology. He is not doing this to show off. No guests are watching. No one is taking photos. His merit may seem small, but it is real. Every time he recites a verse with genuine intention, every time he restrains himself from losing his temper in daily life because he wants to honor his father, every time he chooses honesty over shortcuts because he does not want to shame his family name, he is generating and transferring a deeper kind of merit than he realizes. Now look again at Lily. Her ceremonies are grand. The chanting is loud and correct. Many people praise her devotion. But inside, if she only treats it as a way to silence guilt without changing her own harmful habits, the power of that merit is diluted. This does not mean that temple rituals are useless or that inviting monks is a waste. Far from it. Monks and nuns who have kept precepts and practiced for a long time carry powerful merit in their own right. When they chant, the quality of consciousness is often very focused and stable. The sound of their recitation can help calm and uplift the minds of both living and dead. Inviting such practitioners to lead ceremonies can therefore be very beneficial, especially for families whose own practice is weak. The problem arises when people treat these ceremonies as the only method, and as a way to avoid responsibility for their own minds. It is like hiring someone to exercise for you and expecting your own body to become fit. You can receive inspiration from others' practice. You can receive some benefit from their merit. But no one can practice in place of your own mind forever. This is what Master Guangqin wanted to pierce with his one sentence. The lazy belief that if I pay money to have others chant, I do not need to cultivate myself. The deceased will be fine, and I can continue living however I want. He reminded people, a few days of ceremony cannot cover a lifetime of unwholesome actions without change. If you really want to help the deceased, start by helping yourself to stop creating the same suffering they created. For example, if your father drank heavily and caused pain, and you want to help his consciousness after death, chanting is good. But if you chant by night and drink heavily by day, repeating this pattern, then you are dragging both of you down the same path. If your mother was very greedy, clinging to money until her last breath, and you want to help her, chanting is good. But if you chant while also fighting with siblings over inheritance like wild animals, then your chanting becomes a thin layer of incense, smoke over a bonfire of greed. In such cases, the most powerful ritual you can offer them is this: I will not repeat your mistakes. I will face the patterns that brought you suffering, and I will stop passing them forward. I will turn this family karma in a new direction. Every time you make such a decision, you create merit that is not just sound, but blood and bone. Now, let us look at another story that brings this even closer. An elderly woman named Anna lost her husband after a long illness. He had not been a very kind man. He was often angry, controlling, and unfaithful. But in his later years, lying weak in bed, he seemed to regret some of his actions. After he died, Anna's relatives urged her to invite powerful ritual masters to ensure he did not fall into a bad rebirth. She did invite monks to chant. She prepared simple offerings and participated sincerely. But she did something else that surprised them. After the main ceremonies were over, she did not stop. Every morning and evening, she sat in front of their small home altar, lit incense, and chanted simple sutras in the Buddha's name. She was not highly educated, but she read slowly and carefully, trying to understand the meaning. After each session, she would say quietly, "Whatever little goodness I have created today, I offer to my husband and to all beings. May his heart learn what it could not learn in this life. May he let go of anger and deceit. May he move toward wisdom. And may I also not repeat the role of the angry, bitter wife. May I grow in patience and clarity so that our children do not inherit only our pain." Her relatives said, "You have already done the rituals. Why are you still working so hard every day? Your husband is gone. This is just tiring yourself." Anna smiled. She answered, "Chanting is helping me as much as him. When I chant, I see clearly both his faults and his suffering, my own faults and my own suffering. I can forgive a bit more. I can feel more compassion. Even if he cannot receive much of this merit because his karma is heavy, I can at least stop sending him new anger to weigh him down. And if I become a better person, that is the best gift to him and to our children." Years passed. Her children grew up watching this daily practice. They saw their mother gradually shift from tight bitterness to a kind of gentle dignity. They too began to believe that home chanting had value, not because it magically erased everything, but because it slowly reshaped the atmosphere of their entire family. Here we see another important truth. Home chanting is not only about what reaches the dead. It is also about what you do with your own living heart. A home that regularly echoes with sincere recitation, reflection, and dedication becomes a different kind of space. Arguments still happen, but they may soften more quickly. Temptations still arise, but there is more inner strength to resist acting on them. Fear still visits, but it is less overwhelming. The deceased, if they remain connected to the family's field, may feel this shift in vibration and gain some benefit, even if they do not understand chant by chant what is happening. Now, you might be thinking, all of this sounds beautiful, but I still have doubts. If I chant at home alone, with my messy mind, does it really create any merit at all? Does the deceased actually hear it? Or am I just comforting myself with stories? These are honest questions. Let us meet them with honesty too. From a strictly materialistic view, chanting is just sound waves in the air. From the perspective of mind and karma, chanting is the shaping of consciousness. When you recite sacred words with respect, your mind temporarily aligns with wisdom and compassion. You step out of your usual loops of greed, anger, and ignorance for at least a few breaths. That shift in mental quality is merit. Think of it like this. Your habitual mind is like a dirty river. Each time you chant sincerely, you pour a bucket of clean water into it. One bucket does not make the river pure, but many buckets, over time, can gradually dilute the dirt. Also, chanting builds a bridge of attention between you and the object of your devotion, whether that is a Buddha, a Bodhisattva, or simply the ideal of awakening. In moments of crisis, that bridge allows help to cross more easily, both for you and for those who include in your dedication. As for whether the deceased hear your chanting, it may not be hearing in the physical sense. Different realms of existence, according to the teachings, have different ways of perceiving, but sincere intent, directed clearly toward them, can still touch their consciousness if there is karmic connection. It might come to them as a softening of fear, as a dream of light, as a sudden easing of confusion. You do not need to see those effects to trust that sincere support has some impact. When you send a message online, you do not see every cable and router it passes through, but you trust that if you have the address correct and the system is functioning, it will reach. In the same way, when you chant with a clear mind and dedicate properly, you can trust that something is happening, even if you never receive a thank you dream or a supernatural sign. Master Guangqin emphasized a very simple, grounded attitude. Do not obsess over whether your chanting is good enough from a technical angle. Care more about whether your life is aligning with the teachings you chant. If you recite texts about compassion but treat your family like trash, then improve that. If you recite texts about impermanence but cling desperately to status and money, then loosen that. If you recite texts about honesty but like constantly, then correct that. Every such correction multiplies the merit of your chanting many times. There is a story often told about a practitioner who asked a teacher, "I chant this sutra every day, but I do not feel any change. Why?" The teacher asked, "Do you let the sutra chant you?" The practitioner was confused. The teacher explained, "You recite the words with your mouth, but you do not allow the meaning to reshape your actions. That is like reading a recipe book every day and never cooking. Of course you still feel hungry. Let the teachings enter your heart. Change the way you speak, act, and think. Then, even if you chant less, the effect will be greater." Now apply this to chanting for the deceased. If you chant beautifully but continue to live in ways that generate heavy karma for yourself and your family, then you are constantly creating new obstacles that the deceased may still be connected to. If you chant imperfectly but slowly transform your anger into patience, your greed into generosity, your resentment into understanding, then your entire family karma begins to change. The deceased, if still linked to your family's karmic field, will feel lighter because you are no longer feeding the same dark patterns they left behind. Sometimes, the best way to release a deceased relative from suffering is to stop using their name as an excuse. How often have you heard someone say, "In my family, we are just like this. We are hot-tempered. We are selfish. We are always unlucky. My father was like this. My grandfather was like this. So, I cannot help it." Every time you repeat such sentences, you tie your destiny to theirs more tightly. But you can also say, "My father was like this. My grandfather was like this. I have their tendencies. But from this generation, I will start to change. I will not pass all of this to my children. I will honor my ancestors not by copying their ignorance, but by healing it. That intention alone is a powerful dedication for the deceased. Let us weave all this back into a final story. Happening in modern times. A young woman named Sarah lost her grandmother, who had raised her. At the funeral, some relatives argued loudly about rituals. One uncle said, "We must hold 30 days of ceremony, or else her soul will not cross over. That is just a way for temples to make money. We do not need superstitions." A cousin rolled his eyes and said, "None of this matters. After death there is nothing." In the chaos of opinions, Sarah felt confused and sad. She did not want to fight. She just wanted to do something meaningful for the woman who had cooked her meals, told her stories, and comforted her in childhood. After the funeral, she visited an elderly monk she trusted and poured out her confusion. He listened quietly, then asked, "What do you want to do for your grandmother?" From your own heart. Not to win arguments with relatives. Not to impress anyone. Just you. Sarah thought for a while and answered, "I want to chant for her. I want to thank her. I also want to become the kind of person she hoped I would become." The monk nodded. He said, "Then do exactly that. Chant at home every day for a period of time. It does not matter if it is long or short. What matters is sincerity and continuity. After chanting, dedicate merit to her and to all beings. And in your daily life, try to embody the virtues she admired: kindness, diligence. If relatives want to arrange more rituals and you can afford to join, do so respectfully. If they demand things that go beyond your ability or feel purely like show, you can politely decline. Do not let fear drive you. Let gratitude doctor you. Your grandmother will feel your heart more clearly than she will feel any argument about the correct ritual." Sarah followed his advice. For 40-9 days after the funeral, she lit incense each evening, chanted simple texts, and spoke to her grandmother in her heart. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she smiled. She also made small changes in her life. She stopped speaking harshly to her parents, took better care of her health, and began donating a little each month to causes that helped elders in need. Years later, when she thought of her grandmother, the sharp pain had softened into a warm gratitude. She no longer worried obsessively about whether her chanting had worked. She felt, deep in her bones, that her grandmother's love was living on in her new choices. That feeling was more stable than any reassurance others could have given her. You, reading this now, may be in a different situation. Perhaps you lost someone suddenly and did not do any rituals at all. Perhaps you are only starting to think about chanting now, months or years later. And you wonder, is it too late? From the perspective of time, the funeral is over. From the perspective of consciousness and karma, there is no fix too late for sending good wishes and dedicating merit. You can begin today. You can light a candle, bow in your heart, and say simply, wherever you are now, may you be free from fear. I am sorry for where I harmed you. Thank you for the good you did for me. I will try to live more wisely, so that our shared karma becomes lighter, not heavier. Then you can chant, help someone, give something, or simply refrain from a harmful habit each time, consciously offering that goodness for the benefit of the deceased and all beings. In doing so, you step out of guilt and into responsibility. You stop asking, how much money must I spend to guarantee their fate? And start asking, how can I use my life to create real benefit for both of us? This is the shift that Master Guangqin wanted to see in people, from fear-based superstition to wisdom-based practice. As we come to the end of this long sharing, I want to leave you with a few gentle reminders that you can carry into your own home chanting. If you choose to do it, when you chant at home, do not obsess over perfection of sound. Care more about sincerity of heart. When you dedicate merit, do not limit it only to your own relatives. Include all beings who are suffering in similar ways. The larger your heart, the wider the river of merit can flow. When you think of deceased loved ones, do not only recall their faults or their virtues. See them as human beings caught in the web of karma. Just like you, let that understanding soften both blame and blind idealization. When fear whispers, if you do not do this exact ritual, terrible things will happen. Check carefully whether that fear comes from wisdom or from someone trying to sell you something, whether material or emotional. Be willing to consult trustworthy teachers, but remember that the most important ritual is still your own daily conduct. And finally, whenever you feel overwhelmed by grief and confusion, remember this simple truth. The dead are served not only by what you do at their altar, but by what you do with your own mind and hands in the world they left behind. If this script resonated with you, if it eased a little of your fear or gave you a new way to think about chanting and merit for the deceased, I invite you to share your story in the comments. Have you ever chanted at home for someone who passed away? Did you feel confused about whether it worked? Have you seen changes in yourself or your family through such practice? Your experience, however ordinary it may seem, can be a lantern for someone else who is kneeling alone in their living room tonight, chanting with a heart full of doubt and love. If you wish to continue exploring together topics like karma, destiny, death, merit, and the real meaning of spiritual practice, please subscribe, like, and comment so this little space can stay alive. If your conditions allow and you feel moved to do so, you can also consider supporting the channel as a member, helping to sustain the time and energy it takes to create these long, carefully woven sharing-s. Most of all, when you close this page and the room grows quiet again, may you remember, you are not powerless in the face of death. You cannot control everything, but you can always choose to plant one more seed of wisdom, one more act of kindness, one more recitation of truth, and to offer it with a wide heart. That choice, repeated over days and years, is the most beautiful memorial you can offer to those who have gone before you, and the most reliable protection you can build for your own path ahead.
There are moments when you see something, and your heart simply whispers, "This one is meant for me." Bracelet carries more than beads. It carries intention, protection, and quiet strength. Something to guide your thoughts and keep your spirit steady. If you felt that gentle pull toward any of the bracelets shown, the purchase link is waiting in the description, and the full collection is displayed on our channel store. Follow your intuition. It rarely leads you wrong.